Hello and welcome to Mandibil. I'm going on a little ride here, and I thought I would add a few comments to my deconstruction of Bernardo Kastrup's series on analytic idealism, and more in particular the copyright infringement claims he and Essentia Foundation have been making, which have resulted in part 3 of mine has been removed by YouTube. I don't think it's necessarily removed, but it's unavailable, let's say, right? It's sort of wiped from the front end. I can't access it from the back end, so it could possibly be deleted. I don't think it is, because if they have to reinstate it because of whatever might happen with this copyright bullshit, right? It wouldn't be a good thing if they had deleted it, so they had just flagged it as unavailable or something like that, right? From the back end side of things. But then today, that's about a week ago or so, maybe not a week, but sometime 4 or 5 days ago, I got that copyright strike, where they have deleted part 3, and then yesterday or 2 days ago, I think it actually was yesterday, I made a retraction of the retraction or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it's called, and then today I received an answer, or at least a mail. I'm not really sure if it's an answer, because what I was talking about was part 3. Then I get a message today about part 2 and part 4, which apparently, and there's a sort of a copy of a message they have been sending to Bernardo Kastrup, where they also state his private emails, so I can contact him via those channels rather than through YouTube, the YouTube email, which doesn't work, right? I'm a little confused, to be frank, but so far as I understand it, must be because part 2 and 4 he has also made copyright infringement claims on, right? And what they are saying, as far as I can understand, is that they are not going to take them down because of fair use. So what they say is, I'm doing fair use on these videos, right? And I suppose that Bernardo, after I published part 4 in my series, that's when he made the claim, trying to take my part 2, 3, and 4 down, right? Since then, I have made 10 parts in all, and an extra video also about the takedown. So sort of 11, but 10 videos or 9 videos maybe, that could, including part 3, which has been removed, that could be sort of applicable for some kind of copyright strike. But it seems that part 2 and part 4 hasn't been flagged, or they won't take it down, as far as I understand from YouTube, right? And that means that the situation is, as I understand it, Bernardo has attempted to take my part 2, 3, and 4 down, claiming copyright infringement. And then YouTube has so far accepted, from that alone, accepted part 3 as a takedown at this point. But I have made a knockback. What's it? I'm lacking a word there, but a retraction of the retraction. What's the contra retraction email, which might take some time. So it's not I thought that email I received today was a response on my email I sent yesterday, but it possibly isn't. And they also wrote that it will take some time before they will get back. So I think this is a hunch from YouTube that they're not going to take down my part 2 and my part 4. So the point is, actually, what is it about part 3 that is so bad then, right? I still don't understand exactly what it is. I might have a guess. It might be because of a photograph that is possibly his, that YouTube considers something that I'm using that is his personal copyrighted photograph or something like that. So it's sort of a pretty bad backlit shot of a couple of people taken with a telephone, and one of them is David Chalmers. I suppose it could be that, but you know, I find that to be absolutely ridiculous, right? So this is not about copyright, right? You understand that. This is not about copyright. He wants to make sure that I don't get to say what I want to say on YouTube, right? Because he doesn't have good arguments, right? He wants me to be silenced, right? He wants to destroy me. Character assassination of some kind, right? That only encourages me, because then I know I'm on the right track. And also he sort of implicitly then says that he has, at least to some extent, watched my videos, and he doesn't like what I'm saying. He can't argue against it, because that's what I would do if somebody makes some kind of deconstruction on my video that I would find faulty in some way or another. I will make a deconstructing the deconstruction video or something like that, right? Fine. That's a part of some kind of decent approach to a philosophical discourse of some kind, right? But no, that's not the style of Essentia Foundation. They have the superior hypothesis. We can have no criticism, right? Oh man, right? So what I was trying to get at is, okay, so if we are reflecting on it using his metaphysics, right? He's having an experience, right? He claims that the thing outside himself does what it does, and it impinges on his dashboard, whatever it does. So what it impinges is what it impinges. You can't change your experience, right? If you experience color red, you can't say, no, I shouldn't do that, or that's incorrect, or something like that. It just impinges itself. There's a flock of children waving, so it impinges itself, right? And it does what it does. I can't wish it away. It does what it does, as he says. But no, not when it comes to YouTube experiences, right? Then he wants to change it, right? Then we can't have that, right? So he wants to change his experience. So things, they don't do what they do, right? And also, even though he claims that he does not support any kind of free will, he expects, when he contacts what he calls YouTube, that some entity of some kind has some kind of will that can understand his expression when he sends an email, or, you know, copyright infringement attack, or whatever you would call it, that something is going to happen based on his claims, right? Do you see the inherent contradiction in what he's doing? So he's full of shit, basically, right? He's a shitbag philosopher. He's a complete imposter without any... he's in the clouds. When he's in the clouds, everything makes sense to him. And then now and then, when he doesn't like his experiences, he goes down and just, sends a few emails, and then goes back to his clouds where he feels safe with his mind at large and universal experiences, and and let himself being impinged by the spaghetti monster, right? I have absolutely no patience with people like Bernardo Kastrup, right? He's so full of shit that it's incredible, right? I encourage you not just to take these sort of hyperbole as some kind of gospel. Go listen through my deconstruction, and I'm sorry to say that part 3 is still missing. While I hope that somebody is going to call Bernardo Kastrup and say, why don't you let this guy have his say about your metaphysics. If you think it's so important and it's so superior, we would like to listen to his criticism, right? So we can see whether or not it's good. If you're removing my criticism, right, then you can't see if it's good criticism. Then you are just, the truth ministry and, the Gestapo of metaphysics, right? The metaphysics Gestapo going around destroying those who, are skeptical. It says everything about the psychology of this man. He doesn't have anything to have it in, right? He is possibly some kind of borderline personality, right? He's possibly tending on covert narcissism, I would think. Maybe borderline, maybe, dissociated personality disorder himself, right? I mean, just because he seems like he's a very smart guy, and so doesn't mean he necessarily does not have any psychological problems. I know he has been saying he's suffering from tinnitus, so that's not a personality disorder, but it's annoying as hell. I have light tinnitus, and I understand. I can empathize with the notion of a very strong tinnitus. But he also has used drugs to drug his mind into sort of these weirdo experiences, right? And he has suffered possibly from his father dying in his early teens, and having a mother who's fucking crazy, right? You have to be crazy when you believe in God and Jesus and all this bullshit, right? You have to be crazy to believe in shit like that. And it's based on fear. It's based on fear that if you don't say you believe in it, you are being kicked out of the society, right? Or that particular cult. That creates crazy people, right? And crazy people create crazy children who grow up to be crazy people, right? So luckily my parents were, basically just a low-level narcissists, right? They weren't crazy in the sense that they didn't suffer from any religion. They didn't suffer from any sort of higher-level woo-woo shit, right? They're just stupid, self-centered people. So I have been able to crawl out of that light infringement of bad psychology they have, right? So I can be free of any kind of confirmation bias. But I consider myself a rare case so far, right? Insofar as I'm able to just say, well, wherever my argument leads me, that's where I'm going. I'm not saying, well, I have to connect the dots in a way that makes sure that mommy won't get mad at me or daddy won't, whatever, right? I have some kind of aesthetic that has to be suit, or my philosophy has to suit some kind of aesthetic or anything like that. I'm just interested in getting to something that fucking works, right? And something I can actually agree with other people on. I'm not saying they have to agree with me. That's why I'm such a big proponent of the idea of axioms and definitions, which is basically saying, well, you can agree with me. Do you agree with me on that axiom? No? Well, let me hear your arguments then. And if you don't agree, well, fine. Then we don't have to work together, right? We'll go separate ways, so we don't infringe each other's bad metaphysics on each other, right? The approach of having to convince people is sophistry. It's another word for sophistry. If you don't leave people alone to make their own judgment about their experience, you are basically telling them you have to do as I say, right? In some convoluted manner or another, right? So I just wanted to give my a status report on this weird copyright infringement. I'm not sure what the hell I've done wrong, right? And there's also the idea of fair use, and that's also the statement that YouTube apparently, as far as I understand, use for why they won't take down my part 2 and my part 4. There's a kind of fair use in there, right? So it's not that my part 3 cannot be, I mean, it's not essential to the viewing, but that's the part where he goes through panpsychism and why he think it's a bad metaphysics. And I was basically agree with him, right? Not necessarily arguments he uses, but in general ways, right? And so it's expendable. It doesn't need to be there, but it's just I don't like when I'm being accused of something without exactly knowing what the hell they're doing, and I don't like that people don't talk directly to me. If you think that I'm doing something wrong, why don't you show some balls and say it to me directly and ask me nicely to take it down? Then I would absolutely do that, right? But he doesn't have the balls to contact people directly. He has to go through, the hammer of YouTube, right? And, legal whatever through the state, because basically he wants the state to protect him, right? That's what he's saying. I want the guys with the guns, ultimately, to shoot you if you keep uploading these videos, right? You understand that's what he's doing. You understand that's what everybody's doing who does it this way. They are saying, I'm going to figure out if I can get the guys with the guns to help me enforce restriction on that person, right? And their freedom of expression using my stuff, whatever, right? That's what it is. It's the threat of violence. It's not shown. You don't show. There's not shown pictures of people, threaten me with violence, but it's there. Ultimately, it's there. If I kept doing what I'm doing, and the guys with the guns will have to come to my home and say, well, we are going to shoot you if you don't do it, or we'll drag you off to some cage where you can sit and rot for 10 years or something, right? So he's sort of a fascist of metaphysics, right? I know it's a sort of a hard, but let's take off the gloves and look at what we're actually dealing with out in the reality, right? And not in your high-flying mindfuck of fabulation of what goes about in that area you have no fucking access to, right? But apparently he doesn't care. He doesn't care. If he needs to have me shot to protect his weirdo fabulations, that's what it takes then, apparently, right? He doesn't give a shit. So if he starts to talk about, oh, it's all about love. Oh, it's all about love and show respect to other individuals and be, oh, yeah. Unless you criticize my metaphysics, then I'm willing to have you shot by those cats in blue, right? Yeah, fuck off. Fuck off, you man, right? Okay, that's all I have. See you in the next one.